Our full market analysis for this upcoming week, absolutely packed on the earnings calendar. We've got an election that's coming up in about a week, and how are we going to finish out this year? All these questions we're going to discuss. Personally, my sentiment is bullishness. Buy the dip, ride the wave. Buy the dip, ride the wave until it tells us otherwise, right? Some previous videos that you may have seen on my channel, right? There's no fear mongering or anything if you see some specific thumbnails, it's just to draw you in. But make sure you check those out because some sentiments going further out into 2025 and 2026, right, may tell us a different story. But for right now, we're focusing on the now, and we are bullish heading into this election. All right. So if you're with me on that, awesome. I'm going to go over it today. I'm going to keep you here short, sweet, give you some stocks, some indexes, some earnings that I may be looking at, how to trade earnings. And then from there, we'll get up out of here and you can enjoy the rest of not only your Sunday, but the rest of the week. And hopefully you trade safe, trade smart, and make some gains this week. All right. Really quick, my name is Dr. B. I'm a holistic life and business coach and strategist for entrepreneurs and thought leaders. I'm also an investor and options trader. Been an entrepreneur for the past 8 years, former pharmacist and undergrad in chemistry, and matriculated my way up into this field of just financial literacy and just really kind of making a way for yourself, right? It doesn't matter if you have a corporate job, doesn't matter if you're building a business, right? We're here to serve thought leaders, people that want to grow in skills and skills for themselves where they don't have to rely on other folks, right? So if you're here for that, awesome. Let's jump into it right now, all right? So I want to give you a quick rundown of our calendar today. Or this evening, if you're watching, we're going to go over our fear and greed index. I'm going to go over the earnings calendar. We've got a couple of earnings that I'm watching out for there on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday more specifically. Our election, some things to pay attention to, just oil and crypto moving into the election. They're looking really good and juiced up for a bullish run ahead. All right, I want to kind of go briefly over our cybersecurity sector as we have more breaches, more security that may need to be in place setting up for our new presidential candidate. And the more that we go into online and AI, some of those charts from CrowdStrike and ZS and PanW are looking pretty good throughout the remainder of the year. So I want to put an eye on that. And then some stocks that and potentially leap options that we're maybe just watching inside of our Leverage University, which is what you see right here on my screen. All right. So that is what this video is sponsored by, is Leverage University. That is where my Discord, my coaching, consulting on life, business, finance, and our trading floor is located. All right. All that information will be down below in the description. All right. So you can check that out right there. You can join for free just in our community. Check us out, book a call with myself, join the club just for our chats. And then if you want a little bit more in-depth information and have all these chats open up for you, that is where our full university is located. All right. So look forward to helping you and serving you this evening. And let's jump right into it. So our fear and greed index, we've got sitting right now at 59. All right. So if you've heard in my previous videos, I just discussed that recently we were up here in extreme greed. And we have pulled back into a level where we have some dip buying going on, potentially some hold and dip buying opportunities. Anytime we're in the low end of greed or neutral, we're still bullish in nature in the market. It's just trying to figure out which direction the market may go with some uncertainty with the election and earnings. So this particular setup on the fear and greed index is setting up nicely, typically going into an election season. Now, this is not normal for an October, right? Because the previous Octobers are typically, if it's not election season, if you can see a year ago, this is when typically the selling comes in September, October, the worst months of the season of the stock market. And that is where the dip buying comes in and we run into the end of the year. So just looking a slightly bit different because we have the election there. All right, let's look at our put to call option ratio here. As I always stated before, that typically when we're close to 1 on the put to call option ratio, typically signals a little bit more bearishness. When we're down here on the lower ends of the range, it's typically signaling more bullishness, okay, in the market. Any pullback that you're seeing is getting bought up pretty drastically. So again, as a reminder, if you're in any put options or if you're in my community, we're working one-on-one, our put options, there are some signs for some selling that may come in, but do we just wait until that fall happens, finds a nice base support and play call options, meaning going up, picking up the phone for my beginners, call options on the way up. All right. So really don't want to play against this market heading into the election just because we've got so much bullish strength. So again, put options, if I do signal them or if I'm trading any put options, they are short scalps, right? Day trades where I'm taking them in and out for my 30 to 50% plus trades. All right. Let's jump into our economic calendar for this week. All right. So pretty bland Monday, nothing on the calendar, nothing on the docket. So we'll just have probably a little bit of low volume on Monday, right? Where we have really no trading going on, potentially some sideways action, and everyone's just gearing up for those big earnings reports coming Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. All right. So my particular sentiment right now that I've already expressed to my Leverage University members is that I'm not going to be live trading on Monday. If I see a setup, maybe in the afternoon, I can scalp something awesome, but I'm really not trying to risk anything just because there's so many other major opportunities coming into Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. No reason to force anything if there's not anything there. All right. Tuesday, we have consumer confidence at 10 a.m. And then we have job openings, which are going to be two major reports at that 10 a.m. time frame, along with some earnings that we'll see in a second from McDonald's and SoFi that are reporting that morning. Wednesday, we've got ADP, GDP, really important. So any 8:30 data, I absolutely love 8:30 data simply because we can get a little bit of a sentiment before the market opens. And then we've got Google that is already reported. So Wednesday and Thursday are going to be my main trading days. So I think we get a lot of volatility, a lot of good movements post earnings, maybe a massive, if someone wants to put in a lotto earnings option before they report, that's up to you, right? Make sure you manage your risk. But if you do any of those things, just know that, hey, a Tesla could happen again, right? A major Tesla run could happen again, either direction, to be honest with you. So we got a lot of indecision in the markets. So we'll see what happens there. And then we've got PCE on Thursday, 8:30. I love that 8:30 data. And then Friday starts a new month. And that's the week before that Tuesday sentiment for the market. So depending on how this goes, we could have a really nice finish to the week, a lot of volatility. So I'm loving it. And we shall see how we do. All right. Let's jump into our earnings. Okay. Our earnings report here. Big ones that I want to pay attention to. Nothing really on Monday that I like. I like to just maybe check those out, see how they did. The Ford, Waste Management, just to kind of see how those did, and maybe look at some others just to be aware if there's any new companies or anything I need to just watch for on the horizon. So if any of these, are resonating with you and you're like, hey, you need to pay attention to this, Dr. B, put it down below, right? But SoFi has nice bullish momentum right now, especially with the rate cut. So SoFi, always keep an eye on PayPal just in case, it pops out of the blue. McDonald's really big, especially after that data. Want to see how they report. So those could be really good, nice moves in the morning. And again, if you're going to put anything in before the earnings for SoFi, McDonald's, make sure you're doing it on Monday and riding it into Tuesday and take your profit or cut your loss, however you see fit. All right. But again, Tuesday, we have AMD after hours, Google after hours, right? Even Chipotle, Visa after hours, Snapchat, yeah, Reddit might be interesting. So Wednesday morning is going to be really packed. So after these report, you're going to open up on Wednesday and see a direction for these particular stocks, all right? Along with Eli Lilly, massive, and then Caterpillar as well. So Wednesday morning, like I said before, is going to be that major data. We have PCE. I think PCE was on Thursday. Yeah. So Wednesday we have GDP, and then we have that 8:30, and then pending home sales. Okay, so there we go. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. Sorry. Wednesday, massive again after hours. So Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, massive, simply because Microsoft, Meta, Coinbase, Hood, which we have leaps in, if you know, that we've been holding all year. Hopefully those pop, and I may even consider selling those if we do get a pop with their earnings and a little bit of continuation. Carvana and Starbucks, which will be very, very interesting going into Thursday. Uber's been on a tear. Merck, I'm always interested in Merck. It trades very nicely. And then Estee Lauder. So Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, packed. And then continuation into Friday, obviously with Amazon, Apple, Intel. All right. So I'm going to be looking to trade Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, and Friday morning. All right. So these may take a little scalp here or there, or may kind of see if any setups, may kind of keep some, some dry powder on the side, maybe to do some lotto plays potentially on Tuesday or Wednesday. But other than that, I'm looking to take solid trades post earnings. All right. On the same page. Again, let's take a pause really quick. Hit the like button. Hit the like button if this is serving you so far. I know we're just getting into it. We'll jump in the charts in just a second. But I want to make sure that for my beginners, anyone that's new, that's not understanding the lingo or anything like that, right? Join the free community, right? I do have a free and some free options here on the YouTube page, some free beginner videos to get you started on the lingo, intro to options, charting, things of that nature. So just want to welcome everyone onto the channel. All right. So I think we've gone over everything here. Let's jump into our charts. And what I want to finish off with is really going over our SPY and our QQQ and our IWM sentiment, because when you're heading into significant earnings like this, you want to get levels on your indexes so you know potentially the direction of the market so you can trade in association. Otherwise, those levels on Apple, Google, Microsoft, Tesla, anything that's in the blue here for earnings this week is going to be a little bit skewed simply because they have earnings, right? So I like to get levels post earnings, get some levels pre earnings. But other than that, IWM, SPY, QQQ. All right. May just stick to those, to be honest with you, until earnings report. We'll see what happens. But we saw some selling that came in on SPY more specifically and QQQ. Some significant selling right before earnings, maybe a little profit taking, just getting ready, prepped and ready, getting some dry powder, taking some profits, right? Some selling, a little bit of fear coming into the markets. We did have, some data, some high bond yields from my last video. Go watch that if you did not hear that sentiment. High bond yields, some indecision on some reports and data. And then we also got the election. All right. So levels on SPY, pay attention to 577. Okay. 577. See if we can get a bounce opportunity for calls off of that level, or simply a hold if you're just watching. So 577 is right here. I'm looking for this type of move back to the upside if we have some buying that comes in on Monday, okay, leading up into the earnings. So watch for this pullback to simply be a rotation back up to the highs, okay? I don't like to short into deep macro demand supports, okay? So that means put options. I don't really want to play put options when we have this massive selling where the move has already been made off of resistance. Here is resistance at 585. It pulled back into now support levels, 577, 575. And then ultimately, if we get any type of breakdown for whatever reason below 575, that's where 571 comes in, and then down into, in my opinion, down into that 567, 565 level. 567, 565. You want to consider calls down here in that level. And then the bottom end of the range, if we see that gap fill would be back down into 560. And hopefully that holds for the duration of time. That will be a significant, drastic change. And I think earnings would have to spur that for us to get something like this to happen. Okay, some type of earnings guidance. One of the major companies would have to come in negative or slightly down or something of that nature for that, in my opinion, to happen. Otherwise, I'm looking more so at these dip buys coming in for breaking into new all-time highs, something like that. All right, especially where our fear and greed index is. All right. All right. So those are the levels on SPY. 577 going into tomorrow. See how it reacts around there. 575 below. If you reclaim, right, if you can't get a bounce and you see it push back up, you'd want to look for 581 to reclaim. 581. Those are levels on SPY. All right. Play the ranges, manage your risk, and have appropriate size. Take green trades. All right, if you decide to trade. QQQ, we had this 500 level that rejected pretty nicely. Double top, if you can see here on a weekly, do you see that nice candle there on a daily? Heavy selling that came back in. You may want to fill this gap to come back to about 490, 491. So we've been holding in this range pretty strongly here. So if we get any type of 491 pullback right there, that is where I'd be ultimately looking for QQQ to hold up, which would be right on that 20-day moving average. So it would look something like this if we get that deep pullback slightly in the morning, or we gap down in the morning. All right, if we gap down, be looking for that bounce opportunity to ride it back up and rotate back to 496 and then ultimately 497. And then if it gets really strong, obviously above that 496, 497, you can rotate all the way back up to this 503 level, right? But I'm suspecting typically that we may have some chop, all right? We may have some chop. There may be a little bit of volatility, but chop, meaning for those that are beginners or new, is typically when you have big data, big earnings, big news that's coming up. Leading up to it, a lot of things aren't going to happen. right? So you may go back and forth and back and forth when you're looking for big moves back and forth and back and forth. That's what you want. You want volatility to pick up. So you may not have that on this black line here is when the market's open, for those that are not familiar with Webull or charting. And then the light gray area is when the market is closed or after hours. You can kind of see here daylight and then night. Okay. So in the black areas, this would be Monday. This will be Tuesday. All right. So looking for what it does around 497, 496, and then ultimately back down into the level of 490, 491. Okay. I've got a micro level right here around 493. Okay. Micro levels are for me just, there's a little bit of confluence, meaning there's some support levels that may show up in the middle, but it's kind of choppy. The bigger level of demand is 491 and maybe even down into 489, 490, right? Anywhere in that $2 range. Okay. All right. IWM. Okay. Also got fairly weak these past couple of days, really all last week. IWM just forming this kind of bearish flag. If we look here on a bigger time frame, do you see that big push, bearish flag? And I'm looking to see IWM really hold up that 218 level. Okay, 218. We got a bigger support down here at 216. Okay, 215, 216. So I really wanted to hold up that level. If we get any type of breakdown below this 216 with a solid candle close below, typically a 30-minute confirmation, right? Meaning I'm looking at typically a 30-minute candle. If I see any type of 30-minute candle below, right, then I am potentially looking at that direction being chosen. So if we get a 30-minute candle below this, back down here, then that's really where I want. But again, my sentiment, any dips, any red that's coming down, I'm looking more so for those call opportunities back up. Okay. Call opportunities back up. Do you see here when we had that massive red day on the market, massive dip, and it just seemed like, oh my gosh, you're catching a falling knife. Once it got to its desired level of support, right, you don't want to catch a falling knife. You just want to let it fall, or if you're already in puts, great. And then look at this massive 2-day run into the end of the week. It reclaimed everything, 574 all the way back up to 585, right? $10 move in 2 days on the S&P, okay? So there is SPY, QQQ, IWM, okay? I'll go over a couple more and I'll get us out of here. As you see how I'm dressed today, just to be transparent, I've got a little golf corporate outing this Sunday. So that's why I'm recording this and getting out for you guys and ladies. I appreciate your understanding. For those that are inside Leverage University, I'll definitely answer any questions in our Discord, but I wanted to get this out as quickly as possible. All right. I know a lot of people want to look at NVIDIA levels a lot of times, and then also Tesla since it's already reported earnings. So NVIDIA, we've got here, it doesn't have earnings, or the semiconductors other than AMD this week aren't really reporting until the middle of November. So NVIDIA is still fair game for potential trading opportunities. Okay. So here we go on NVIDIA. We've got 141. 141 is a nice support for NVIDIA, anywhere between 141 and 140. Ultimately, you would want it to hold up that psychological level of 140. Okay. You see this trend line right there. If it breaks below 140 confidently with a 30-minute candle confirmation on a 30-minute, and you see a red candle close below, that may signal a potential entry for a scalp down into 136 and then ultimately down into that lower level of 133 and then 131. Okay. So the bottom end of the range, 131, and you've got some micro levels in the middle here that could hold up. 133 is really important, which I've already got marked, and then 137. Okay. So watch out for those coming down below, taking profit, bouncing back up potentially. And then if it gets any weaker, then you're coming lower. Okay. Watch QQQ, watch SPY if you're looking to trade NVIDIA on the downside, but ultimately it may chop around as well, potentially depending on what's going on. All right. AMD could affect NVIDIA this week a little bit. So keep your eye on AMD for that reporting after hours on Tuesday. But AMD is looking really nice. If it reports nice, I mean, I could see, AMD recovering pretty nicely back up to that 170 area. So watch out for AMD this week in the semiconductor sector if you like trading the semis. All right. One side watch, kind of honorable mention, is SMCI. SMCI I've got on watch simply because it's been consolidating here for a while. I want to see it hold up this 140, 141 level. Okay. And then ultimately, if we get some strength or something happens out of this range, I'm looking to trade it either direction. So either under 140 or above, 150 with a solid daily close. Okay. So you see here, these daily closes have been fairly weak underneath for SMCI. It's just getting rejected back down. We've been trading it a little bit, but it just couldn't break above. All right. Anything else? Let me go back to my calendar here, make sure we're good. All right. Cybersecurity sector, oil, and crypto. All right. And then we'll get us out of here. So a lot of questions I've been getting is the election. Like what is going to happen around the election? To keep it very simple, right? Unless we're working one-on-one, or if I could do a little bit more in-depth video, I want to keep this simple and short. The election, there's typically bullishness into the election, right? Depending on the candidate, one sector or the market could move a little bit more aggressively than others, right? But a couple of sectors that I wanted to focus or hone in on are oil and crypto. Okay, obviously tech for sure, but oil and crypto. Crypto is in its 6th to 7th month post the Bitcoin halving, as well as oil that has been brought back down. And with the unrest, civil unrest that's going on overseas, and this potential talk of World War III, right? Oil could be on the horizon, and the charts are kind of looking very bullish as well on this pullback. So oil could dip further, but it also could just absolutely take off. So go look up Warren Buffett's portfolio recently, right? And you can see that he has been buying up Oxy, which is my number one watch, along with obviously Exxon and some others. But Oxy has got earnings actually on my birthday, November 12th, and it's looking really nice here in this 51 level support. Okay, 51, 51, 51, 51, 51, 51. And obviously it's getting a little bit of breakdown underneath this moving average here with a pretty massive downside wick. So I do want to watch that it holds up 50. But if we get a good solid earnings report, you can kind of see here that it's up after hours, and it may have a little bullishness up back to that $56 to $60 level. So keep an eye on Oxy, and obviously Exxon as well is another one to keep on watch. So keep oil, energy on watch heading into the election. You can look here, nice chart actually on Exxon. All right, if you watch here, there's Exxon right there. Obviously on the monthly, it's getting a little bit sold off, but I do want to watch this pullback to see if this break and retest holds on this 119, 120 level. See, I've got a trade idea here that potentially Exxon could get bullish. It's got earnings on Friday, but we'll have to wait and see. We could trade it pre if you want to, trade it that way, but ideally following it into Monday after it reports, or going into the next week after the election if it has a really good earnings report. So I could see that happening, but also depending on, just the sentiment and what's going on, we could have a pullback. So earnings are a crapshoot, but I love the setup right here. Just a nice consolidation, break, retest, hold at that 120 level, and break back above this previous high of 122 and some change. Okay. All right. Very interested in what McDonald's does. Just kind of, keeping that on watch. This deep pullback here on McDonald's heading into its earnings. Was that just a fluke? Obviously, it's the Chipotle situation is nothing to play with as far as the diseases and the things that are happening with the McDonald's onions on the quarter pounder and the actual death that's been reported. So I do not want to play around necessarily with saying, oh, wow, okay, this McDonald's is doing great with that report. Yeah, it could bounce right back up and fill that gap back to 300 plus. Or it could just say, man, we've been holding some stuff inside. Sales been low, guidance, we don't know. And then we're a little uncertain with what's going on with these recent reports. And it could come back down pretty drastically. So very interested in McDonald's on Tuesday morning when it reports. All right. Okay. Finally, as promised, let's see. Crypto, Bitcoin, as long as it's above 65,000, want to see if it can hold this level going into the election. If the election obviously just pans out either direction, I think obviously one party is going to benefit more than the other as far as the aggressiveness to the upside, but both parties and a lot of institutional buying going on with crypto. So just make sure you're positioned, do your own due diligence. But hey, Bitcoin, yeah, just say that. Okay. And what I mean by that, that means that typically you have post For my beginners, you have typically a post bullish run for potentially about a year to 2 years following the Bitcoin halving, after about a 6 to 7 month settlement period after the halving. The demand goes up, the supply goes down, right, which pushes these particular asset class up. So keep your eye on Bitcoin. We've got Coinbase looking really nice here as well, right? Nice bullish formation here, higher lows. It could absolutely rip and take off back to 300 plus for 2025. Okay. So Connell is another one that associates with Coinbase, right? So pay attention to that. Very similar chart. CleanSpark, a lot of us already in the Leverage University community, we already have positions in CleanSpark. So if you don't have the financial resources, or you just want to buy it in, you want to buy a Bitcoin miner like CleanSpark, as well as Mara, and then Riot also reports. So Mara, CleanSpark, and then there's some others that won't go into depth just on this market analysis. But keep your eye on crypto for extreme bullishness following the election. Okay, following the election. Okay, cybersecurity. Okay, I like these charts. Okay, I like this chart. I just want to keep it on watch because it's been grinding its way back up for a lot of the cybersecurity names after they got beat down most recently, okay, on that fall back in July. So they've been grinding their way back up, and cybersecurity obviously is needed, as we know. So I want to watch CrowdStrike with this 300 hold to see if it can reclaim 300 and push back up into these highs of 325, 350, so on and so forth. So it did have earnings back in August. I'm not sure when their next earnings is, but just want to keep this on watch. Does this turn into a big bear flag, or does this turn into another higher low and we keep going? ZS and PanW. Okay, I love ZS's chart a little bit more than PanW, simply because it's got a little bit more consolidation here with bullish potential formation. There's a support, form of resistance, consolidation above. And then we've got this nice pullback here recently in this channel. So I want to pay attention to ZS. And then PanW, obviously we know from Kathy Wood and this extreme bullishness, don't necessarily like where the chart is sitting, but it's obviously in the same sector. So just keep a watch out for these break of new all-time highs above that 380 level, or a reclaim of 380 if it also gets very bullish and just takes out 380 plus. Okay. All right. With that being said, and that sentiment, thank you all so much for listening to today's video. If you have any questions more specifically, or working one-on-one or inside of Leverage University, amazing. Hit me up in Discord. If you're not inside of there, I would love to have you as a part of the family, part of the community. Make sure you check those links down below, grab you some free stocks, right? Also, just click that like button, hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed this video, and look forward to seeing you in the next one. Let me know some other videos you would like me to make as well. All right. Peace, love, and blessings to you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.